Detonation in T-minus 2 minutes.
What if events went differently? What if the Lizard had won in the final battle of The Amazing Spider-Man? How could this small change affect the Amazing Spider-Man timeline as a whole? Find out in today's highly requested fan fiction. So do make sure to request your fan fictions in the comments down below, because I will be taking requests, and this was an actual fan fiction on a poll that I ended up taking. It got over 5,000 votes, and it wasn't the popular vote. I really wanted to do this fan fiction because it's been requested for over a year, so I thought, let's finally do this. Now let's get right into the fan fiction. All of the events of The Amazing Spider-Man play out the same, with the Lizard revealing the plan to Peter Parker to get rid of the weakness by making everybody lizard type people. Peter knew Gwen needed the antidote, and she was still at Oscorp Tower creating it. Spider-Man was swinging fast and far, trying to get to the tower before it was too late. The police saw Spider-Man swinging, and they shined their lights at Spider-Man as he flew near a helicopter. He was blinded. They shot an electric bolt at him, and Peter got electrocuted, being stunned. He fell to the ground on a taxi. They put Spider-Man in handcuffs, and Peter could barely move. Captain Stacy got out of the helicopter, seeing Spider-Man on the ground, defeated. Just like the original timeline, Captain Stacy removed Peter's mask. Peter's spider sense went off, and he got out of the handcuffs, disarming all of the officers. He backflipped as he heard Captain Stacy demanding for him to freeze. Peter turned around slowly, seeing Captain Stacy, and he said his daughter was at Oscorp, and he needed to defeat the Lizard. He needed to stop it, and Peter picked his mask back up and he put it on. He started swinging, and one of the officers pointed his gun as he was about to shoot Spider-Man. But this is where the timeline alters. The officer doesn't shoot Spider-Man. This changes the timeline forever, since the city needed to band together by helping Spider-Man get to Oscorp. The people in the city saw that he was okay, and they wouldn't get the cranes to help him swing there. This means the fight starts earlier in the timeline with Lizard and Spider-Man. Captain Stacy couldn't catch up with Spider-Man that fast, like what he did in the original timeline when he saved him from the Lizard. Spider-Man swung in, seeing Lizard working on the machine, and he screamed as Spider-Man tried kicking Lizard in the face. Lizard dodged the attack, using his claws to shred into Spider-Man's leg. He was in pain. He lost his web as Lizard caught Spider-Man in midair. Lizard screamed in his face, slowly crushing him, but Spider-Man backflipped, kicking Lizard in the face. Peter fell off of the Oscorp Tower, falling into a light below as it zapped him. He crawled out, seeing Lizard still working on the device. The Lizard looked below, hearing screams as he laughed, saying, "Poor Peter Parker." Spider-Man crawled out of the light, looking at his leg. It was shredded by the claws of the Lizard, and he could hardly walk from it. There was muscle tissue damage and blood spilling from it. Peter used his webs on his leg, slowly limping and getting up. Lizard put the rest of the chemicals into the machine. Spider-Man crawled up the wall, and he started running. This was his last chance. He swung back in, kicking the Lizard, but the Lizard stabbed Spider-Man in the gut. He picked up Peter, removing his mask, throwing it away. The Lizard crushed his web shooters, and his tail was slowly choking Peter. Lizard told Peter that he had no life, no Uncle Ben, no parents, and he explained that he was all alone. He threw Peter off of the tower. Peter barely caught the ledge of the Oscorp Tower building. The machine worked, and it was too late for Captain Stacy to get the antidote from Gwen, and Gwen gave it to him, but they both looked in the sky as a massive green cloud shot in the air. Peter screamed in pain as his eyes went from blue to green. He was bleeding, and he closed his eyes. He knew that he failed, and he knew that it was over. Peter let go of the ledge as his hands started turning green. Gwen and her father were choking, and they turned into lizards. Peter hit the ground fast, screaming. He was losing control, but he knew that he needed to keep it if he was going to stop this. He saw his hands transform, and he was transforming into a lizard. The Lizard was on top of the Oscorp Tower, and he started screaming. His plan had worked, and the city was left for ruin. Peter used his abilities, climbing on the tower, and he could see that he was slowly transforming into the Lizard. His hands smashed into the tower, and he had more power than ever before. His spider powers and the Lizard powers gave him double of what he had. He kept crawling, getting on top of the tower, thinking of Aunt May, Gwen Stacy, and how he failed not only Uncle Ben, but the city itself. He climbed up to the top of the tower to see Lizard, and Lizard dropped off of the tower, seeing Peter was still alive. He smiled, saying, how do you feel now? More powerful, more smarter, more everything. He told Peter that he saved him, but Peter screamed, saying die, as he leaped in the air. Norman Osborn had escaped in time. The chemicals only went into New York City, and anything around it with other cities in the United States, they weren't affected by Lizard's chemical gases. New York was under the Lizard's control, and Norman was in a private jet on the phone with government officials. They told Norman that his company was going to pay for the damages, that this was going to be trillions in debt. The government didn't have a choice. They told Norman that they were dropping a nuclear bomb on the city to get rid of the lizard plague. Norman screamed on the phone saying there were millions in danger and that they could be saved. They sent a fighter jet with a nuke into the city. Spider Lizard and Lizard were fighting it out, and Peter took the lizard by the neck, choking him. He slammed him to the ground and his face was slowly being crushed. He tried to fight, but the lizard was no match for Peter Parker. Peter used his claws, snapping his neck, and he started screaming. Peter turned his head around, seeing a massive red flare in the air as a nuke went off in the city. The entire city was destroyed, and Peter closed his eyes, screaming in pain. The city would be destroyed, and Norman Osborn would be sued, and his company would be shut down for the destruction of New York City. Millions died, and it was a complete wasteland. The lizard did win, but not for long. I do believe that even if he won, the government could have chose to step in after seeing the fall of Spider-Man on TV, sending a nuclear weapon, so even though the city would be under control by the lizard and all of the lizards, they would all be destroyed by the nuke, and the nuke would finish the job and the lizard's plan. But in the end, the lizard did win against Spider-Man. What do you guys think of this dark fan fiction? And if you guys did enjoy this fan fiction, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn your notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with latest content. I will be making a ton of fan fiction animations, so if you guys want to check out the Patreon account, do make sure to check it out. Link will be in the description down below. But thanks for tuning in, and have an amazing day.